race des chevaux, tandis que chaque mouvement est minutieusement jugé. C'est donc dans un peu plus de 10 minutes le début de l'épreuve de dressage pour la première moitié des 6 ans, et à partir de 13 h, la première moitié des 7 ans. Et je vous rappelle, ce soir, de 18 h à 20 h, saut en liberté des espoirs du complet dans le manège. Demain, ce sera la même chose, à 9 h, dressage de la seconde moitié des 6 ans, et à 13 h, seconde moitié des 7 ans. À 15 h 45, les espoirs du complet dans la carrière Le Pontet. Et à 17 h, l'ensemble vocal, sans crier gare, dans le village. Quelques mots maintenant sur la journée de samedi, le cross. Le spectacle monte en puissance avec l'épreuve la plus attendue, le cross. Sur un parcours jalonné d'obstacles naturels, les chevaux dévoilent leur puissance, leur endurance et leur agilité, en franchissant des structures aussi impressionnantes que spectaculaires. La foule, toujours au rendez-vous, suit avec passion chaque passage. Des obstacles emblématiques comme le hibou ou le gué provoquent l'émerveillement des spectateurs, novices ou experts, venus souvent en famille pour profiter du cadre exceptionnel. Le cross est une véritable aventure pour les cavaliers et un moment de suspense pour les spectateurs qui retiennent leur souffle à chaque obstacle. À 10 h, ce sera le départ des chevaux de 6 ans. À partir de 13 h, le début du cross des 7 ans. À 16 h 45, la fanfare FPOC, déambulation au village. Fin du cross, mise à l'honneur des médaillés des Jeux Olympiques de Paris devant la tribune. À 17 h 30, les jeunes talents SHF sur la carrière du mondial. À 18 h, remise des prix Jeux de piste Pomme Évasion sur le stand Oxygène Radio. 18 h 15, fanfare FPOC. Et 9 h 12 h 30, les trompes du lion, déambulation dans le village. C'est donc une fois encore tous les meilleurs chevaux de 6 et 7 ans du monde entier qui se sont donné rendez-vous au Lion d'Angers.
bien.
Ah, ça a bien récupéré, oui.
Nous sommes à 3 minutes de l'entrée en piste de la première concurrente. Entrée en piste de la première concurrente de l'épreuve de dressage de ce championnat du monde des chevaux de 6 ans ici au Lion d'Angers. Pour la Suisse, elle monte Remember Me CH. Nous accueillons Nadia Minder. First to go for Switzerland, number 1. Remember Me CH, cheval de sport suisse B par Lordanos et Aquila B par Aqua Mineral, propriété de la Cavalière.
Well, a very good morning and a warm welcome to the first day of dressage here in Le Lion d'Angers for the FEI Eventing Young Horse World Championships. We kick things off with the 6-year-old division, 50% of the field coming forward today, the other 50% tomorrow. And it is Switzerland, Nadia Minder. Remember Me CH, who get us started this morning. Last year's winner of the 6-year-old division, Barrington Alice, Izzy Taylor, back in the 7-year-old class. And they will start their dressage a little bit later on from 1 o'clock local time. It's the FEI 2-star Test B that our competitors are taking on this morning. And Remember Me looking very relaxed. Don't forget, this is the first time that some of these young horses will have been in an atmosphere quite like this one. It's been a really consistent test. The ground jury of Jutta Koivula for Finland at C, Douglas Hibbert at M for Great Britain, and at E for the United States of America, Robin Fisher. And the change of leg through trot across the diagonal. And again, circling left 20 metres. This movement, all it requires, it's not a full movement of medium canter. It requires riders to show some medium canter. And Remember Me certainly doing so. Nadia, who's been based over in Great Britain for the last couple of weeks, actually, with Piggy March. Went to her first Burley. Just a little bit more unbalanced in the downward transition to trot there than on the previous rein. Lovely halt. Just a little fidget in front, but lovely and square. It's a very uphill way of going. 4 steps in the rein back. He's a big horse as well, so it's easy to forget that these young horses are all very much growing into themselves as well. And up the final centre line. Nadia, remember me, CH, getting the competition underway here in Le Lion d'Angers. This is where the future superstars are on show this weekend, of course. The 6-year-olds will be 10 in LA 2028, the 7-year-olds 11. Or are we looking even further afield to potentially some of the 6-year-olds even still being at the top of the sport come Brisbane 2032?
Next to go for Venezuela, number 2. Gaël Biquet, une jument par Contisco et Nefertiti par l'Arcos, propriété de la cavalière et de Javier Rerillet.
So a provisional total of 31.7. That is the standard. A good starting score for Nadia for Switzerland with Remember Me, CH.
67,95%. Jugeant E, 68,18%. Jugeant M, 68,64%. Pour un pourcentage moyen de 68,26% et un score de 31,70. C'est bien évidemment la première place au classement provisoire.
So we'll keep you up to date with the provisional scores if you want to go and look for yourselves. Results.worldsporttiming.com will have all of the provisional scores over the next few days. So Nadia, Remember Me, 31.7. Now we turn our attentions to Venezuela and Elena Ceballos. Elena comes forward with this 6-year-old mare by Contisco. Owned by Elena alongside Javier Jarili. Elena, who has represented her country at the Pan American Games in 2015. And also back in 2011 as well, had that wonderful horse, Nuno du Moulin. Actually individually finished in 5th at the Pan Ams back in 2011 when they were held in Mexico. Gaël BK. Here's a horse that has had some solid placings at the 1 and the 2-star level. Went clear cross country in Madrid. And Masha de Honda in the 2-star shorts there. First long format for the horse. And it's interesting, some of these horses are stepping up to the long format level for the first time in their careers. Others will have done a long format already this season. They have to have qualified, but don't necessarily need the 2-star long format qualification to have got here. A little bit more inconsistent in the contact than our first combination. And this Serpentine It's just 2 loops and is specified to be in the rising trot. The rest of the test in sitting unless it's specified elsewhere. And then that pick up into the canter transition, showing the medium canter strides on the circle. Just lost balance, unfortunately, at the end of that canter circle and just changed behind. Just tense and tight through that downward transition to trot, anticipating the strike off. It did get the correct lead. All of the action shown here from Le Lion d'Angers this weekend, available for you on FEI.tv. Just lacking a little bit of straightness in their work. It actually walked down into the halt. And in terms of the immobility, it doesn't again specify how long the immobility should be shown for. But they want to judge the transition to halt, the immobility, the balance and the engagement of the hind leg. And picking up that trot transition. And just unfortunately fidgeted slightly in that final halt. But Elena Ceballos and Gaia BK for Venezuela have completed their first phase, and we will see them, of course, in the jumping phases as well. Tomorrow, we focus our attentions again on the second day of dressage. The second half of the 6-year-old division and the second half of the 7-year-old division will be coming forwards. And then on Saturday, it is the cross-country test before the final show jumping here in this very main arena on Sunday. And the atmosphere will certainly build as the competition progresses. This time last year, actually, we had some horrendous rainstorms during the dressage. So fingers crossed the weather stays fine this year. Next to come forwards, it is Max Warburton for Great Britain. Max, one of 3 riders competing for Great Britain in the 6-year-old division. And he rides at Norway Van der Haar. This combination, actually only 2 international runs under their belt, but have finished on their dressage score at both of them. Second at Nunney a little bit earlier on in the year, and 4th in the British 6-year-old championships at Cornbury Park back in the middle of September. That was a division that was won by Izzy Taylor and Barrington Boy, who actually runs here this weekend as well.
57.8, provisional score
Of the top 5,
42.
3 of the top 5 from that British 6-year-old championships competing here. And actually, Norway van der Haar finished on his dressage score at both of those international runs, as I say, so if he can do that again this weekend, he would be in with a great chance of picking up an individual medal. Max, regarded by many as one of Great Britain's real future superstars of the sport. He's getting a really good team of horses together. He had a super result at Defender Burley a few weeks ago with Deer Park Revelry. Norway van der Haar, owned by Celia Goff, Miranda Lucy and Sue Ruddock. Out of High Shutterfly. Who of course is by the by High Shutterfly, who of course himself is by the wonderful Sir Shutterfly. Very easy transition into canter, balanced in the medium canter strides. Max doing a good job to support the horse back in the transition. The moment trending easily sub 30. Looking really balanced in that counter-canter loop. I want to maintain the regularity and quality of the canter, but you also can't neglect the actual loop itself. It's got to be of a good size and shape. Nice forward transition to trot. Looking very balanced. One, two, three, 4 steps in the rein back. Just came above the contact slightly. For those of you who might watch the higher level dressage on a more regular basis, it's always so interesting watching how the variations of the movements now increase in difficulty, but these very much about laying the foundations for the future. Just almost a miscommunication there, which was a real shame. They got a lovely mark for the free walk. Just almost went to pick up the canter transition out of the walk. And not quite square behind, but a really nice test from Max Warburton. Norway van der Haar, the first of 3 combinations for Great Britain, and should go out in front. Will be the ones to beat, albeit at a very early stage of the competition.
C'est la Belgique que nous allons accueillir dans quelques instants, montant le numéro 4, Handin Blog Tibitzer, Lovin Thais. Next to go for Belgium, number 4.
So there we go. Marks in from our judges. And Max Warburton is going to be the one to beat. 70.91 from E, 70.45 from C, 72.27 from M, 28.8 is their starting score. And if we're looking in terms of the type of mark that has won the individual gold medal in this 6-year-old division in recent years, let's reflect on some of those past victories, because we've had some brilliant winners of the 6-year-old division. Kitty King's Crystal Fontaine, actually, who went very well at Buccolo last week. Of course, we showed you all of the action there on FEI.tv. He ended up with a top 10 finish. He was a former 6-year-old young horse world champion. The likes of Izzy Taylor's monkeying around actually as well. He again a former winner here, and actually he holds the record finishing score in recent years in this class, 25.1, just ahead of Kitty King and Crystal Fontaine, in fact 25.4. So we're yet to see a sub 25 take the win in this 6-year-old division. Will 2024 be the year? Michael Young is a former winner with Star Connection, and Fisher Incantus, and of course the wonderful Fisher Rakana, who was a 3-time 5-star winner. William Fox Pitt in Oslo. Thomas Carlyle and Tenorez. Tom has also won this class actually with Golden de Belliard. And Elena Scharf and Laguna 4 other winners. Piggy March is a former winner. So watch this space. Michael Young, the only 3-time winner in the 6-year-old division. Now we welcome for Belgium, Laureen Tice and Hand in Glove. Hand in Glove comes here having been inside the top 30 with a clear cross country in Langenhagen in the 2-star there, top 10 in Jardy in the young horse 2-star a little bit earlier on this year as well. Has done a bit of pure show jumping also. Was bred by Bastien Slice. By Hopalong Cassidy. That's for Ferro mare called Joelle. Came back to her really beautifully after those medium canter strides. This again, a big horse, and it's easy to forget that these young horses are only 6 years of age, all stepping up to what would arguably one of the biggest atmospheres, arenas. There's so much to look at, Le Lion d'Angers. It's the most beautiful venue. But again, they arrive and they definitely feel like they are somewhere. And there's a lot for them to take in. It's a wonderful education for them for future years in the sport. But it's one of those events that riders definitely feel that their 6-year-old has to be ready for. because there is so much for them to take in. There's around 44 or so combinations in total in the lineup in the 6-year-old division this year. The 7-year-old division is considerably bigger. Not quite square behind, but really nice halt, and actually really accepted the contact in the rein back. Now the free walk on a long rein. Good over track. Seeking the contact forward. Isn't going to challenge the lead of Max Warburton. But actually it will be among this horse's best tests internationally. Only the 3 starts, but 32.9 in Arville a little bit earlier on this summer. Ended up in 6th place in a 2-star, beg your pardon, there. And they finished on that dressage score, being clear inside the time cross-country on all 3 international starts. So Loreen Theiss and Hand in Glove will go into 3rd place as things stand at the moment. We'll confirm their score for you when it does come through. Delighted to have you with us wherever you are joining us from. Looking forward to a brilliant weekend of sport. Getting the opportunities to see some of those young superstars in the flesh. We've talked about some of the 7-year-olds that have won, the 6-year-olds, beg your pardon, that have won this division. So there we go, 33.3 into 3rd for Belgium. Some of the final scores in the 7-year-old division really quite exceptional. Annalena Schafler going for one of those horses that has won both the 6 and the 7-year-old title. Is the only sub-20 dressage score, and actually she went on to finish on it. 18.6 when she won back in 2022. Takes some beating to go close to that. Ingrid Klimke has won this 7-year-old division on a couple of occasions. Kizzy King, a former winner. Tim Price, a former winner. Thomas Carlyle has won it on 3 occasions. Austin Nicola, another that has taken the top spot. So now we turn our attentions to the Netherlands, and it is Merrill Blom Hulsman and checkpoint 46. Merrill, who has long been a real superstar for Dutch eventing. Her best placing here was actually back in 2020 with Radar Love in the 3-star long format. This is actually the first horse that she's brought forward in the 6-year-old division, believe it or not. But some of her wonderful 5-star and top-level campaigners, such as Rumour Has It, the Quizmaster, have both come through the 7-year-old division. And actually wonderful to see her with some really nice young horses in her string. Represented the Netherlands at 2 Olympic Games, 2 World Championships as well. And this horse, checkpoint 46. Was 8th in the young horse 2-star in Stragom in the 6-year-old division there, back in September. And has actually done a 2-star long already. So a little bit more international experience than some of the horses that we have seen thus far. Was second in Stragom in the 2-star long there. Finished on their dressage score of 28.5 that day back in June. Checkpoint 46 by Chacoon Blue. Also a Casal mare called Fleur, owned by Stel Blom-Holzmann now. Again, another to be trending sub-30, Max Warburton, the current leader for Great Britain. Norway van der Haar, 28.8. And we only get the side-on view of that transition, but they would be going to almost directly towards the judge at M. So they would get a much, much better view of how straight that is. And that's one of the joys of having judges situated at different points of the arena. The judge at M, remember, is Douglas Hibbert for Great Britain. Being balanced in the counter-canter loop. Unfortunately, that tiny little fidget in the halt wouldn't quite have got the big marks for the immobility there. But really seeking the contact forward and down. Relaxed as well. Oh, tiny little spook at the whiteboard. Of walk steps, unfortunately, into the final halt, which wasn't quite square, but what a really lovely horse for the future. Checkpoint 46, taking the atmosphere in Le Lion totally in his stride, and will be pretty close to the 30 barrier. Is not going to challenge the lead of Max Warburton, but actually it will be pretty close to Merrill's best test in Le Lion d'Angers from her 8 appearances to date.
Next to go for the USA, number 6.
Previous best was 30.3 Radar Love when she went on to finish 8th in the 7-year-old division back in 2020. Probably not going to quite get that close to that today. Just waiting for those final scores to come in. Merrill Blom-Holzmann for the Netherlands have completed their first phase, and of course we will have all of the action for you on FEI.tv throughout the weekend. There we go, 30.4.
Voici les résultats pour
And
le numéro
65.91 at E,
Venezuelan,
72.27 at C, 70.68
Judging C,
at M, gives them a total penalty score of 30.4. So Meryl Blom-Holzmann, checkpoint 46, go into second at this stage. Don't forget, you can see all of the live scores for yourself. World Sport Timing, the official scorers this weekend. The leader at the moment, 28.8, Max Warburton, Norway, Van der Haar. Meryl Blom-Holzmann into second, and Najaminda for Switzerland rounding out the podium, 31.7 as things stand at the moment. Next to go, though, it is for the United States of America, Hallie Kuhn. Hallie rides Looks Like Love. It's an Irish-bred mare who was originally started by Jessica O'Driscoll out in Ireland. New ride for Hallie this season, but they've had a couple of really good clear rounds cross country at Wellington and Cornbury House, 2-star competitions by Jetem Flamenco, who is of course Billy Toomey's wonderful show jumping stallion, owned by Hallie alongside Jessica O'Driscoll. Also a Luxie mare called Luxan. And Hallie comes here off the back of that wonderful podium finish at Buccolo just last weekend. She's been based over in the UK for a little while now with Kevin McNabb. Brings the mare back to her after those medium canter strides. You could see a very clear transition there. You can see this mare is taking it all in. She's doing a really good job on trying to concentrate very hard. Ali doing a really good job, because actually you feel like there is just this tiny bit of underlying tension. Looks like love, quite sprightly. And there's so much for them to take in. The stands might be empty, but sometimes that makes them more imposing almost. A smattering of applause, and has a good look round. Ali Kuhn and Looks Like Love for the United States of America. And actually, other US combinations to come forward. We'll also see Felicia Barr and Quantum Cooley in the 6-year-old division. And Ali Kuhn has a second ride in Bowley-born Oliver as well. So, Ali Kuhn and Looks Like Love will be in the early 30 territory. Waiting for those scores to come in from our judges. They are at C, Jutta Koivula for Finland. At E, Robin Fisher for the United States of America. And at M, Douglas Hibbert for Great Britain. There we go. 67.95, 65.45 and 67.73 gives them a total of 33.0. They go into fourth. Next to go, it will be for Germany, Sophie Loib. Sophie, who has enjoyed some good success here at Le Lion d'Angers in the past, 37 years of age.
In E, 67.95, in M, 67.73, an average of 67.04, provisional score 33.
Won the 7-year-old division back in 2020 with Sweetwater Zyathan. Was also 5th with the same horse in the 6-year-old class back in 2019 as well. And top 10 in 2020 in the 6-year-olds with Iselhook's First Sight. J'adore Moi, her Buccolo winner, another horse that's graduated from both the 6 and the 7-year-old division, had 2 top 20 finishes in those classes as a young horse. Comes forward with Hey Lucky Stan. Combination with 4th in Stragom in the 6-year-old division. Actually, be a horse that is by Hickstead White, out of a Stan the Man mare called Stan's Lady, owned by Erspring Schmidt. Certainly made a very good first impression on our judges. Previous international tests have been in the region of sort of 28.5 to 30.2. Really seeking the contact forward. And that 2-loop serpentine, but comes back to Sophie very nicely. Lovely upward transition to canter. Lovely uphill way of going, this horse. Now judges thoroughly enjoying that as well. Very clear transition to show those medium canter strides. Lovely big paces. Very balanced in the transition back to working canter as well. So looking very much on track to be our new leader. All things going well. He's looking super relaxed. Really seeking the contact forward in the free walk. So going to be our new leader, Sophie Loeb, comes to the end of her test with Hey Lucky Stan and a lovely final halt. I'll be very interested to see the mark from our judge at E, who got a lovely side-on view of that, and rightfully so. Sophie just holds it for another couple of seconds longer. Make sure they take good notice of it. And certainly bred for the job, this horse. Out of the Stan the Man mare, and Stan the Man the sire of the wonderful Le Biestatique Sam of Michael Young's, two-time Olympic champion, winner of I think 7 5-stars in total. There we go, 26.7, so 71.36, 75.23 and 73.18. That's unanimously putting them out in front at the top of the leaderboard. Max Warburton goes down into second, 26.7 for Sophie Loeb and Hey Lucky Stan. So just one to go for Norway before the first break of the day. But if you're just tuning in, then a very, very warm welcome to you. Sophie Loeb has gone into the lead on 26.7, one of only 2 sub-30 scores. Max Warburton, Norway van der Haar being the other, 28.8, Merrill Blom Holzman and Checkpoint rounding out the top 3. Now it is the turn of Cecilia Marie Lundberg and Butts Oral.
An average of 73.26. Provisional score 26.7. First place so far.
So Cecilia Marie Lundberg comes forward with Butts Oral. For Norway, there's a horse that actually has been clear cross country on all 4 international outings to date, including Langenhagen, Arveel and Le Moulin in the 2-star competitions there. Cecilia, who is perhaps most well known for that wonderful partnership which she had with Cascore, spent some time based out in the US, but now based in Europe. And this young horse by Lucciarelli was bred by Professor Dr. Volker Steinkraus owned by Cecilia alongside Kathleen Hanlon-Lundberg. Just getting a little bit tight in the neck and the contact at times, dropping behind the vertical. Can feel there's that little bit of tension creeping in. As we've said, sometimes the empty stands can be a little bit more intimidating than when they're full even. They certainly can magnify the noise. Tiny bit of tension just comes above the contact after that transition into canter. Just got to keep the balance. Asking for those medium canter strides. Just a little bit quick, perhaps, at the canter loop. Good immobility shown in the halt, actually, because you can see Cecilia having to work quite hard to keep Butts-Oral's attention on the task in hand. So coming up, their final centre line isn't going to challenge the very top of the leaderboard, but it would have been a very, very good experience for this young horse in the main arena as well, and did a very good job in keeping a lid on any tension, because these young horses, many of them, as we say, won't have been in an atmosphere such as this. And it's about giving them a good experience. It's about helping them for the future as well. So Cecilia Marie Lundberg for Norway takes us into the first break of the day. Just wait for her score. There we go, 61.82, 61.36, 64.32, gives her a total of 37.5. That puts her into 7th at the moment. The leader at the end of the first break, Sophie Loeb, Hey Lucky Stan, 26.8 ahead of Max Warburton, Norway van der Haar, 28.8, Merrill Blom-Holzmann, rounding out the podium. So we've got a short break now, but we will be back for the next session very shortly. It includes Couple of very, very smart championship riders. Calvin Bockmann for Germany, Lara de Liederkerke-Meyer for Belgium as well, with their future superstars. And we do hope that you will join us in just a few minutes' time. So we will be back in 10 minutes. This is the leaderboard as things stand at the moment. Sophie Loeb, the one to beat, 26.8.
Quelques mots sur nos partenaires. Forestier, partenaire de longue date, Forestier est fier de poursuivre son engagement auprès du Mondial du Lion pour cette édition 2024. Depuis de nombreuses années, Forestier incarne l'excellence et la passion dans le concours complet, discipline qui leur tient particulièrement à cœur. Le concours complet est un défi exigeant. Forestier relève ce challenge avec brio grâce à ses selles sur mesure et son équipement professionnel haut de gamme, confectionné dans les meilleurs cuirs français. N'hésitez pas à visiter les stands Forestier aux emplacements 39, 40 et 41 dans le village. De Boucou, la maison de Boucou est de retour pour l'édition 2024 du Mondial du Lion. Que vous soyez passionné de dressage, de saut d'obstacle ou de cross, la Green Team de Boucou est là pour vous accompagner dans tous vos projets. Profitez de cette occasion unique pour rencontrer leurs techniciens celliers et bénéficier de conseils d'experts gratuits sur vos équipements. Retrouvez 2 photos sur le village durant tous les événements. Le Crédit Agricole, cette année encore, le Crédit Agricole en lui-même est partenaire du Mondial 2024. Pour le Crédit Agricole, être une banque de proximité, c'est aussi soutenir les événements sportifs locaux qui animent notre territoire. Le sport est une véritable école de vie. Il est essentiel de soutenir ceux qui partagent et pour vivre ces valeurs. Un grand merci au Crédit Agricole pour leur confiance et leur engagement. Unimédia a renouvelé son partenariat avec le Mondial du Lyon pour la 3e année consécutive. Grâce à son savoir-faire, Unimédia assure les services internet et téléphoniques de l'hippodrome du Lyon-Angers, contribuant au succès de cette événement. Un grand merci à Unimédia pour son soutien précieux. L'Excap qui a eu l'occasion de soutenir et d'être présent au Mondial du Lyon durant plusieurs années, renforce cette année son accompagnement en devenant partenaire de l'édition 2024 du Mondial du Lyon. L'Excap est également impliqué dans l'accompagnement des opérateurs du volet équestre et a su développer au fil des années une compétence spécifique en droit du sport, droit équin et droit rural. Grand merci à l'Excap pour son soutien. Corévasion. Cette année encore, Corévasion vous invite à découvrir le cross sous un angle amusant et éducatif. Le principe de ce jeu de piste est simple. Retrouvez les 7 panneaux dispersés autour du parcours. Chaque panneau vous dévoilera des indices précieux. Les enfants pourront explorer la nature et découvrir les pratiques agroécologiques des producteurs de pommes et de poires, tout en s'amusant. Une belle occasion de plonger dans la biodiversité et d'en apprendre plus sur les méthodes respectueuses de l'environnement. Le jeu de piste est inclus dans le programme officiel du Mondial du Lyon, distribué samedi prochain, le 28 octobre, dans le parc. Un moment ludique et instructif à ne pas manquer en famille. Je vais revenir en arrière sur le jeu de piste parce qu'apparemment il y a une petite coquille. On m'a indiqué le samedi 28, mais le concours sera terminé. Le jeu de piste est inclus dans le programme officiel du Mondial du Lyon, distribué samedi 19 octobre dans le parc. Un moment ludique et instructif à ne pas manquer en famille. Donc c'est bien pour le samedi 19 octobre. Inextinso est un partenaire clé pour les TPE et PME, offrant un service d'expertise comptable unique en France. De sa création au sein de Deloitte à son indépendance en 2019, le groupe n'a cessé de croître grâce à ses 6200 collaborateurs et à la confiance de 130 000 clients. Merci à eux de soutenir le Mondial du Lyon. Funtex, partenaire du Mondial du Lyon, Funtex vous accompagne dans toutes vos aventures, qu'elles soient en ville, au jardin, à la chasse ou à cheval. Avec ses collections en coton pour hommes, femmes et enfants, Funtex allie confort, style et durabilité. Parfait pour profiter pleinement du plein air tout en restant élégant. Découvrez les indispensables de la saison sur le stand numéro 25 et 26 dans le village. Ouest France, partenaire du Mondial du Lyon, Ouest France vous fait vivre cet événement incontournable au plus près de l'action. Suivez toutes les actualités, les moments forts et les performances des cavaliers sur son site internet. Ensemble, partageons l'émotion du sport et la beauté de l'équitation. Grand Prix, cette année encore grâce au magazine Grand Prix, partenaire de notre événement. Vous pourrez suivre l'épreuve du cross en direct sur le canal grandprix.tv ce samedi 19 octobre. Un grand merci à toute l'équipe pour leur engagement et leur soutien continu à notre événement. C'est l'Espagne qui va se présenter sous les ordres du jury puisque il est 10h presque 5 minutes et le départ sera donné à 10h06. Montant Helios pour l'Espagne, Albert Hermoso Faras. Next to go for spread number 9. Helios à Hanovria par Herald et Santillana Paddock Essay. Next to go for spread number 9. Voilà, on est à 45 secondes du départ pour Albert Hermoso Faras. Et je vous rappelle le score à battre, 26,80, à mettre au crédit de Sophie Leber et de El Kistan FBW pour l'Allemagne. Score to beat, 26.8.
Next to come forward for Spain, it is Albert Hermoso Faras, who comes forward with Helios. Combination jumped clear cross country on all of their 6 international starts. Horse coming forward at the first run at the long start at the 2-star long format of the sport. 5th in Avanche in the 2-star there. Combination that have just rolled the 1 rail in the jumping in those 6 starts to date. By Herald 3, owned by Santillana Paddocks. Albert, who of course has enjoyed a brilliant top-level career. Went to the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro back in 2016. Been to 2 World Equestrian Games as well. Completed both individually, Tryon and Car, in 2014-2018. And his best placing at Le Lion d'Angers was actually 12th place with Nureyo CP in the 6-year-old division back in 2013, 11 years ago. And that was the horse that then, just 5 short years later, went to the World Equestrian Games in Tryon. The leader at the first break, Sophie Loeb, Hey Lucky Stan on 26.8. So that is the score to beat at the moment. Coming behind the vertical a little bit, nose tucked into his chest a little bit too much. But actually did a good job in keeping the balance in that loop. And a nice upward transition in particular into the canter. And change the lead through trot. Just trailing that hind leg, unfortunately, in the halt. But otherwise a good halt. Just wasn't quite square behind. Albert Hermoso Faris. And Helios for Spain, coming to the end of their test. Albert, who has been a regular visitor here to Le Lion d'Angers over the years.
Next to go for Belgium, number 10. I go to Czech, c'est français par
Le Lion d'Angers, the most beautiful location in France. It's the most stunning venue. Just in the southwest of the country. Or southwest of Paris, I should say. As now we welcome the next of our Belgian combinations, Valentine Gabriel and I Love You Jack. Valentine Gabriel, I Love You Jack. A couple of very good places at Varigam and Jardy in the young horse. Two-star a little bit earlier on this year. Finished 6th on both occasions. Also been 3rd in Orple Grand a little bit earlier on this season. And their latest outing, they were clear and inside the time cross-country in Langenhagen. Valentine, who actually has only been to Le Lion d'Angers on one previous occasion, bought a horse called Cartoon Chavanais back in 2014 and finished agonisingly close to the podium on that occasion, individually in 4th. That was also in the 6-year-old division. Came through the ponies, juniors and young rider squads for Belgium. Was part of the pony team that took a team silver in Saumur back in 2006. So coming forward up the centre line now, the second of our Belgian combinations that we've seen. We'll see their third and final rider very shortly as well, Laura de Liederkerke-Meyer, also in this session of dressage.
64.77 in N, 66.14, an average of 65.15, provisional score 34.97 splits so far.
Still relatively quiet around the showground at 10:15 local time, but these grandstands will be absolutely jam-packed come Sunday. Leg yields. Judges looking for the balance and the regularity and quality of the trot. And at this stage in a horse's career, it's very much about those good foundations being put in place, the basics on the pyramid, so to speak, that will stand them in good stead as the tests get more and more technical when they go up the levels. And actually changing the rein and changing the lead through trot. It doesn't specify how many trot steps that you should have. You want enough that you keep the balance, but it still wants to be a very clear change of lead. Just unfortunately step back into the halt. And into the final halt with some rain back. That wasn't quite what was requested, and you can see actually Valentine almost just, dare I say it, schooling the horse there at the end of the test, just correcting that. And actually they come to the end of their first phase, will be in the early 30 territory, aren't going to challenge the leaders of Sophie Loeb, who are out in front, one of two sub-30 scores as things stand, 26.8 the score to beat. There we go, 34.6 into 7th, 66.63, 36, beg your pardon, 65.45 and 64.32, very equal amongst our judges, 34.6 into 7th.
Pour un pourcentage moyen de 65,38 et un score de 34,60, la 7e place. Judges good marks for number 10, judging
So,
65.4.
Laura de Kerkenmeijer will be next to come forward for the Belgians, the third of their 3 riders actually in the allocation here in the 6-year-old division. And Lara rides Jungle Drum. Lara had a super ride here 12 months ago, actually, in the 7-year-old class. Ended up finishing a very, very close second to Thomas Carlyle. Now she comes forward with Jungle Drum 3. Combination who were 10th in Stragon in the young horse class there, 3rd in Varigam, and actually were as low as 22.1 in Varigam in the 2-star in the young horse division back in August. So this could certainly be a test to look out for. One at the 1-star level a little bit earlier on this season, but has had some good results, this mare, so far. She's actually by Jaguar Male out of a Contendro dam. So Jaguar Male, who has sired the likes of Andrews Hoy's individual bronze medalist from the Tokyo Olympic Games, Vasily de Lassos. Contendro, of course, the sire of this year's Olympic champion Fisher Chipmunk FRH. So certainly very, very well bred for the job. owned by five-star eventers alongside Irene Teichel, who bred this horse. Irene has actually owned other horses with Lara all the way up to the 4-star level. Lara, who's ridden the roller coaster of eventing the last few years, had a pretty tough road. Spoken very honestly and candidly about that. But 2023 by far her most successful season to date, and then of course this summer became Belgium's first ever 5-star winner when she took the title in Longwy-le-Moulin. But it's been again a bit of a bumpy ride over the last couple of weeks. Lost one of her top horses. And the roller coaster of eventing really is very, very real. But she is an incredible ambassador for the sport. Mum of 2 young children, husband Kai, chef to keep for the Belgian team, but also a very, very good course designer in his own right. And they have a very, very busy yard at Arville in Belgium. Looking very relaxed in this main arena. Le Lion d'Angers actually invested a couple of years ago in putting in a surface. As is the nature of the time of year, sometimes the weather conditions can be less than favourable, and particularly on the final day when the going could get quite deep and cut up. They felt that it would really benefit these young horses from jumping on a surface, and actually that has paid dividends, and I know something that the riders are unbelievably grateful for. Lovely and relaxed free walk. Lovely big over track with the hind leg lands in front of where the foreleg has left the ground. And rewarded with an 8 from President of our ground jury at sea for that. So Jungle Drum and Lara de Liederkerkenmaier coming to the end of their first phase for Belgium. Not quite square in the final halt, but looked to be pretty straight from what we could see. Of course, President of the ground jury at sea would have the best view of the straightness, but then they might perhaps not get the best view of how square the horse is. The joys of having judges at different points of the arena enable them to get a really overall picture of what is being presented to them. So Lara de Liederkerkenmaier for Belgium and Jungle Drum 3 will go into the top 5. Just a reminder of where we are at the top of the leaderboard at the moment. It is Sophie Loib, Hey Lucky Stan, who lead the way on 26.8. There we go, 67.73, 70.00, 68.64 from our 3 judges, 31.2 into 4th for Lara de Liederkerkenmaier. That actually pushes Nadjaminda Remember Me, who are our pathfinders, down into 5th. So Sophie Loib leads. Max Warburton, Norway van der Haar in 2nd, 28.8. Merrill Blom Holzman and Checkpoint rounding out the podium at the moment, 30.5. But still a good way to go. As next to come forward, it is Anne-Catherine BLM with Diacon Diva.
Du genre M, 68,64%, pourcentage moyen 68,79%, un score de 31,20 et la 4e place au classement provisoire. Judges good marks for number 11. Judging C 70%, in E 67.73, in M 68.64, on average of 68.79.
So Diacon Diva, the 6-year-old mare, was top 20 in Bad Segeberg last time out. Jumped clear with a few time penalties to add to their dressage score, which was sub 30. Also been third at the 1-star level. Top 15 in Langenhagen and Rurt in the 2-star short divisions at both of those events as well. This horse by Diacontinus, out of a Sunlight mare called Sempra TV, owned by Inca Custas. Lovely big paces. And actually, riders are given the choice in that medium trot whether they wish to do it sitting or rising. And Catherine obviously electing to do it rising, but both of those allowed or permitted by the test itself. See just how big this horse's paces are, which is a very good job to keep the balance in the canter. And really nice balance in that loop. Average score as well, just dropping as things stand. This would be a German 1-2 at the top of the leaderboard. Sophie Loeb, 26.8, a former 7-year-old winner here, leads the way as things stand. So looking like they will go comfortably into second place on the leaderboard, not quite square behind in the final halt, but Anne-Catherine Bielin and Diakondiva. And almost you can see, just as the horse trots away from that final halt, that there might have been a little bit more underlying tension than we perhaps could see. She did a really good job on keeping on top of that.
L'Allemagne à nouveau avec le numéro 13 montant Kasparov 12, c'est Calvin Böckmann. Next to go for Germany, number 13, number 13. Kasparov, un Austrien par Karajan et Diakontina par Diakontina.
So there we go. That is confirmation that they will actually go, I think, into third place on the leaderboard. 29.1, 71.14, 68, 64, 72.95. Last couple of marks just pulling their score to a 29.1. So Max Warburton actually stays in second. Norway van der Haar. As next to go, it is Calvin Böckmann, who was individually second at Chioaken in the big four-star class there a little bit earlier on this summer. Was team rider number 4, the reserve for the German team at the Olympic Games in Paris. And he comes forward with Kasparo at 12.
68.64, in E 71.14, in N 72.9.
So Calvin Böckmann.
An average of 70.91, provisional score 29.1.
And
third place
Kasparo will be heading down the centre line in just a second. Again, the third of our German riders in this 6-year-old division. And each nation has to make their nominations. So riders can't just enter Le Lion d'Angers, they have to qualify, then they have to apply to their federation, and then their federation awards the places to be able to compete here at these Young Horse Breeding World Championships. And actually, Calvin comes forward now with Kasparo 12. The 6-year-old gelding by Karajan. And actually out of a Diakontina mare. Diakontina was the mare, Diakontinus was the dam sire. So related to the horse actually that we have just seen into the arena before. They've had some really good results. A couple of top 10 finishes in Arville and Varigum in the 2-star there. 4th in Stragom in the 2-star division a little bit earlier on in the year. They've been as low as 25.2 in the first phase. If they could match that again today, then they would certainly be challenging for the top spot. This horse owned by the Böckmann family, by Calvin, Jason, Liam, Roger and Simone. Calvin based at Werendorf. Very much been a huge part of the youth programs for Team Germany. Lovely big medium trot. And unfortunately just paid the price. He was brave in what he was asking for, but the horse unfortunately just broke into canter. Lost a little bit of balance. Calvin actually won the Pony European title back in 2015. He's been part of the German team that won a team gold at 2 championships, ponies and juniors, plus also competed in the pure jumping discipline as a pony rider as well. Would be 23 years of age. So much power with this young horse. And actually Calvin's challenge within the test is harnessing it all in the right direction. And there's some really nice marks that have come in, and should it continue in this vein, he will drop sub 30. Lovely halt. Tiny little movement, but actually a really, really nice square halt. Watch out for the mark that comes in there. Not picking up quite as big a marks as I might have given. I would have been a little bit more generous for that halt, but the judges obviously seeing things in very, very different positions and marking him down, of course, for that tiny fidget with the foreleg as well. And you can see how this horse has a test in him that is going to be very, very low in terms of a final score. Hasn't quite managed to pull it all off today, because actually it's always a little bit tricky if you come into your first medium trot, first opportunity to really show off to the judges. And Calvin was pretty brave, and unfortunately the horse just broke out of the trot and then just played catch up a little bit from there. But actually a really, really nice young horse for the future. And while might not break into the 20s today, you've absolutely no doubt that a 20s score is well within their grasp. So Calvin Bachmann and Casparo, the end of their test. There we go. At 66.36, 71.82, 70.68. 30.4 is their total score. So now we welcome the first of our home riders, Fabrice Samori and Ito Dulotenia. This is 6-year-old by Upsilon, Thomas Carlyle's wonderful sire. And actually last year we really saw a good number of his offspring competing in the divisions here. And I'm sure we will do so again in 2024 as the weekend progresses. Upsilon, actually the individual silver medalist in the 7-year-old division here back in 2015, took 5th in the 6-year-old class the year before. So Fabrice Samori to come forward as the first of the French riders. Been here on 3 previous occasions. Best placing was in the 7-year-old division back in 2019 with César de Bois. Ito de Lotenia, 2nd in Pompadour at the 2-star division there. That was a class won by Iliad de Cursa of Thomas Carlyle. think that is the French Young Horse National Championships as well. Scored 27.5 in the first phase on that occasion. That's their only international, and they finished on that dressage score. A little bit of a hop behind on a couple of occasions, and unfortunately that just did it again and just changed behind, so tiny loss of balance, and unfortunately that will prove quite expensive on the scores. And actually having a slight opinion about the canter-canter loop. And Fabrice did a wonderful job there in actually just taking a breath, regrouping, picking the canter back up on the right lead, and just giving the horse time. A little bit unbalanced through the change of transition. Eloise Legan and Indian Tonic GQ, the other of the French combinations that we have to come forward today. Liad Decas and Thomas Khalil will be down the centre line tomorrow morning. The 4 steps in the rein back. The judges, remember, President of the Ground Jury Jutta Koivula at C for Finland, Douglas Hibbert at M for Great Britain, and at E for the United States of America, Robin Fisher. So unfortunately those mistakes in the middle part of the test really bringing their score a little bit out of the leading group. Fabrice Saint-Marie, Ito de Lotaigne have finished their test, and actually Fabrice did a really good job of keeping a handle on things, and the horse has finished the test really happy and will have had a good experience in the main arena here at Le Lion d'Angers, which is so important for these young horses. For many of them it's very much a big step up in terms of atmosphere, even those empty stands. There's a lot going on, a lot to look at, a lot of space. They're in that main arena up by themselves. Quite often at the national level of competition or even international level, when they do their test, there's horses alongside them in other arenas, which definitely gives them that sense of security. So there's lots to look at here at Le Lion d'Angers. As now the next combination to come forward before the break will be Marcio Carvalho-Georges and his own David Scott and Lizzie Scott's Drummond Romeo. Is gelding by Womanizer out of a Mr. Big Cat mare called Drummond and Pona. That is confirmation of Fabrice Saint-Marie though. 60.23, 59.77, 60.45 gives them a total score of 39.9, just sneaking sub 40, go into 13th at the moment. Marcio Georges and Drummond Romeo, Irish bred. Come forward to this first phase to represent Brazil. Marcio, who has actually represented his country at 3 Olympic Games now, including in Paris this summer, where he finished in the top 45 individually. He was top 25 at his home Olympics with Lissy McWare back in 2016. He also competed in London. He's been to 2 World Championships, Tryon in 2018 and Protoni 2022. And actually took the individual silver medal, this time 12 months ago, at the Pan American Games in Santiago in Chile. Part of the Brazilian team that took a team bronze, securing them Olympic qualification. Best placing at Le Lion d'Angers was actually in 2022 in the 6-year-old class, with Lincoln Parquet finishing inside the top 20. Drummond Romeo 3rd at Wellington in the 2-star division there, finished on their dressage score of 27.3. Just getting quite tight at the end of that leg yield. And he's doing a very good job, just keeping the horse calm and relaxed. Showing those medium canter strides to the left. It's not a whole circle of medium canter. You've just got to show the strides on it. But actually, Marcio pretty clear in what he was offering to the ground jury there. little bit of resistance in the rein back. But actually it looked to be a square halt from where we could see it. So our angle of the camera is very similar to that of the other judge on the long side of the arena at E. They're almost the directly opposite, so a very, very similar view just from the other direction. But the judges on the short side of the arena at C and at M will get a very different view. That penalty score just coming down at the end of their test. Marcio Covarrubias and Drummond Romeo bringing their first phase to a conclusion here in Le Lion d'Angers. And it didn't quite all go to plan in their first phase today. A little bit of tension creeping in, but actually very solid score. We'll see them go inside the top 10 as things stand at the moment. So that actually takes us to the second break of the day. Just one more session of dressage to bring you in the 6-year-old division before we turn our attentions to the 7-year-olds a little bit later on today. Tomorrow, of course, the second half of the field will be coming forwards. Confirmation for Marcio's score, 65.23, 64.77, 67.05, gives them a total penalty of 34.3. So they go into 10th at the moment. The leader, though, remains Sophie Loeb, Hey Lucky Stan, 26.8. Head of Great Britain's Max Warburton, Norway van der Haar, 28.8. And the only other sub-30 score came courtesy of Diakon Diva and Anne-Catherine Bielin. So that is the top 3 as things stand at the moment. Still plenty more big names to bring you, and the likes of Carol Daniels, independent article, the first of the Irish riders that we will see. Rebecca Howard for Canada as well. Heloise Lugan, Indian Tonic, a GQ, also coming forward in this, the final session. That is the leaderboard as things stand at the moment. How much will it change? Well, do join us to find out. We will be back after this short break, just 10 minutes or so, and then the final session of the day for the 6-year-old division before we turn our attentions to the 7-year-old class, who will come forward a little bit later on. They start their tests at 1 o'clock local time.
quelques instants à nos partenaires. Cheval Mac, partenaire du Mondial du Lion, Cheval Mac vous plonge au cœur de l'événement. Retrouvez des reportages exclusifs, des interviews de cavaliers et toutes les actualités de la compétition. Vivez avec nous la passion du cheval et de l'équitation au titre des épreuves du mondial. Partenaire historique, la région des Pays de la Loire, partenaire du Mondial du Lion, la région des Pays de la Loire soutient fièrement cet événement. Emblème du dynamisme et du patrimoine naturel exceptionnel de son territoire. Terre de passion et d'excellence équestre, notre région offre un cadre unique pour accueillir cette compétition internationale. Merci à eux pour leur soutien. Lui aussi, partenaire historique et propriétaire de cet espace magnifique qu'est le domaine de l'île Briand, le département de Maine-et-Loire, nous ouvre ses portes dans le superbe parc de l'île Briand et de mettre son riche patrimoine naturel et équestre en avant. Le Maine-et-Loire est un véritable écrin pour accueillir cette compétition internationale de renom. Sur le stand, pour cette édition, ne manquez pas d'aller admirer la torche olympique, symbole des Jeux Olympiques de Paris 2024, et samedi, la médaille d'argent que Nicolas Pouzin a décrochée à l'occasion des Jeux Olympiques de Paris. Il y aura aussi l'autre médaillé qui est Stéphane Landois. Mais la médaille de Nicolas, vous pourrez la prendre en photo sur le stand du département samedi. L'IFCE, l'Institut français du cheval et de l'équitation, est un partenaire clé du mondial. Avec son expertise dans la formation, la recherche et la promotion du cheval, l'IFCE partage avec nous la passion de l'excellence équestre. Son soutien est essentiel. Merci à eux pour leur engagement. La Société hippique française, pour la deuxième année consécutive, la SHF organise un concours de type derby réservé aux meilleurs jeunes chevaux de 4, 5 et 6 ans de la grande semaine de Pompadour. Un moment fort à ne pas manquer samedi à 17h30 sur la carrière du mondial. L'Anjou bleu. Venez découvrir la guinguette 100% Anjou bleu, ouverte de jeudi à dimanche, de 8h30 à 19h pour une véritable immersion dans le terroir de l'Anjou bleu. Déguster des produits frais et locaux tout en découvrant les secrets de leur fabrication. Rendez-vous samedi à 11h30, 15h30 et 17h30 et dimanche à 11h30, 14h et 16h pour rencontrer des artisans et producteurs locaux passionnés qui font vivre l'Anjou bleu grâce à leur savoir-faire unique. C'est l'occasion parfaite pour échanger, découvrir leurs produits et repartir avec des souvenirs faits main. Ne manquez pas cette belle célébration du patrimoine et des saveurs de notre région. Toutes ces animations sont à retrouver au stand 102 et 102 bis. Fiducial. Expert en comptabilité et gestion et services aux entreprises, Fiducial permet aux organisateurs du mondial de se concentrer sur l'essentiel, offrir un événement exceptionnel pour nous tous. Merci à eux. Oxygène Radio est fidèle au rendez-vous. Venez les rencontrer sur leur stand dans le village et découvrez l'équipe qui vous accompagne chaque jour en musique et en info locale. Un grand merci à Oxygène Radio pour leur présence et leur soutien. Et puis nous reviendrons un peu plus tard. Non, on passe à Alouette. Allez, Alouette. Alouette, la radio qui vous accompagne au quotidien et partenaire du Mondial du Lion. Un grand merci à eux pour leur soutien et leur énergie qui font rayonner notre événement dans toute la région. Restez à l'écoute d'Alouette pour des moments musicaux et des infos locales tout au long de la journée. La ville du Lion d'Angers. Un grand merci à la ville du Lion d'Angers et je salue son maire Étienne Grémaud et toute l'équipe. Un grand merci à la ville du Lion d'Angers pour son accueil et son soutien. La ville du Lion d'Angers est fière de faire rayonner le sport équestre. Il est bientôt 11h03 et c'est à 11h06 que nous accueillerons le prochain concurrent sous les couleurs de l'Irlande montant le 16 Independent Article, Carol Daniels. Independent Article, un cheval de sport irlandais par Tyson et Sassy Cassie par Cascaletto, propriété de Margaret Kinsella. On revient avec la vallée du Haut-Anjou. Nous adressons un grand merci à la vallée du Haut-Anjou pour son soutien au Mondial du Lion. C'est dans cette belle région riche de patrimoine et de nature que nous avons la chance de partager ensemble ce rendez-vous unique. La vallée du Haut-Anjou est fière de vous accueillir et de mettre en avant le sport équestre au cœur de son territoire. Et puis, nous aurons un mot pour le Crédit Mutuel à l'issue de cette séquence. Et je vous rappelle le tiercé gagnant à ce moment de l'épreuve. En tête, c'est Sophie Lebe et Heileke Stan FBW pour l'Allemagne avec un score de 26,80 devant Anne-Catherine Berlein, Diacom Diva FRH, 29, score à battre, 26,80.
So Cathal Daniels getting us back up underway after the break. Cathal, who was part of the Irish team that took a team silver at the World Equestrian Games in Tryon in 2018. We've seen less of him competing at top-level international eventing in the last couple of years. But Independent Article, the horse that he brings forward here by Tyson. Also a mare called Sassy Cassie, who is by Cascaletto Saint-Gobain, owned by Margaret Kinsella, who has been a massive supporter of his over the years. Owned the wonderful Ryogan Rua, his junior horse that took him all the way up to the 5-star and that championship medal that I mentioned. Did a good job in keeping the balance on that loop. who also went to the Olympic Games in Tokyo. His best placing here at Le Lion d'Angers was actually 5th with LEB Empress back in 2020. Rogan Rua herself came through the 7-year-old division some 10 years ago now. Unfortunately not quite square, and did rest a hind leg in the final halt, so isn't going to pick up the biggest marks for that. But Cathal Daniels getting us back underway here in Le Lion d'Angers.
Prochain concurrent à se représenter en piste sous les couleurs de la République tchèque. Il monte Coreritas.
In the southwest of France, just southwest of the capital, Paris. Le Lion d'Angers has long been one of the most iconic locations in the international eventing calendar. And when you tune in, hopefully you will tune in, on Saturday for the cross-country action, you will see exactly why that cross-country course is so special. It is absolutely a work of art.
Voici les résultats du numéro 16, Karel Daniels. Il montait Independent Article pour l'Irlande, jugeant C 65,23%.
So, we will see tomorrow the next couple of Irish combinations as Cathal Daniels scores 36.9. Still to come for Ireland. We have Noel Dunn, Keith Rhapsody of Belgian. And also Robbie Kearns, Belgian, Thistle Be the Last Time. So both of them will come forward tomorrow in the second half of the draw. The FEI WBFSH Eventing World Championships for young horses being held here in Le Lion d'Angers. As next to come forward, it will be for the Czech Republic. Miroslav Trunda and Corneritas.
Corneritas qui se présente en piste. Le numéro 17. Next to go for the Czech Republic.
Miroslav.
Number 17.
Corneritas come forward, having been top 20 in Stragon. They actually won the 2-star in Capasvar back in July, 5th there in a 1-star as well back in May. 3 internationals to this horse's name. By Cornatino, out of a Favoritus mare, owned by Adela Svodobova. Miroslav, who has been to 2 Olympic Games for the Czech Republic, including this summer's Paris Olympics, with his top ride Shutterfly, also the World Championships in Pratoni and the European Championships a couple of years ago in Avanches. Top placing here in Le Lion d'Angers was 8th with Shutterfly. That was back in 2017. And electing in the medium trot across the diagonal to use the rising trot. We've seen plenty elect to keep sitting, and that is at the discretion of the rider. And whereas the medium canter on the circle, it shows strides of medium canter, it is actually cross the diagonal in medium trot. So it's the entirety of the diagonal. Just a little bit behind the vertical. So not quite picking up the big marks, but Miroslav doing a very good job, because it looked certainly at the beginning of this test like there was some underlying tension. Oh, he did a very good job of keeping that canter loop moving then. Just lost a little bit of balance. Before that change of leg through the trot. And a careful downward transition. Stepped out behind rather than in behind. And thrown back was a little bit fragile. Now just needs to keep the horse calm and relaxed in this free walk on a long rein. So down the final centre line, not quite square in the final halt, but lovely immobility, and actually did a really good job there. The most relaxed that the horse has looked, and again we talk about a good experience in the arena for these young horses, and certainly Miroslav Trunda gave this horse a lovely experience on their debut here at Le Lion d'Angers.
Dans quelques instants, le Canada au départ. Elle monte Dolman Cooley, Rebecca Howard. Next to go for Canada.
So Miroslav Trunda, Corneritas, will get a score for them as it does come through, but looking to be top 15. Not going to challenge the lead of Sophie Loib, who is out in front with that score of 26.8. Hey Lucky Stan, the one to beat at the moment, ahead of Max Warburton for Great Britain, Norway van der Hart, and Catherine Bielin for Germany in third. And the horse looking really nice and relaxed as they leave the arena. So 37.7 into 15th place on the leaderboard, 61.36 from both judges at E and C, 64.32 at M, gives them a total of that 37.7. So into 15th at the moment, just slots in ahead of Fabrice Saint-Marie, Aito de l'Ortaigne, who dropped down to 16th. Next to come forwards, it is for Canada, Rebecca Howard. Rebecca rides Dolman Cooley, Irish bred. A horse that actually has 2 international starts this year, Clear cross country in both of them, Wellington and at Cornbury. Was top 20 at Cornbury in the young horse 2-star division there, finished on their dressage score of 31.6. So that is just how competitive that score was. And actually the only 2 international runs for Rebecca this year, since she had 2 in the 6-year-old division 12 months ago. Trebor and Cooley Convinced Trebor, who has since... in fact, it's been a little bit longer than that. 2018, beg your pardon. Rebecca Howard had 2 here in Le Lion d'Angers. And then actually had a bit of break from international competition. So wonderful to see her back here this year. She had, of course, that wonderful campaigner, Riddle Master, who she finished top 10 on individually at the Olympic Games in Rio. Also represented her country, Canada, at the Olympic Games in London, at the World Equestrian Games in Kentucky in 2010, the Pan Am Games in 2011 as well. Her 3rd visit, or her 3rd run, I should say, because actually only been here in 2018, just brought the 2 horses with her. Dolman Cooley, the one that she has in 2024. Rebecca, 45 years of age. Dolman Cooley, owned by Cameron Crawford, by Dignified Van Zorgvliet. Out of a mare called Dolman Dimension, who's out of Dolman Deja Vu. And that Cooley prefix, of course, represents the horse having been sourced through Richard and Georgina Sheen's Cooley Farm over in Ireland. Cooley have had some really good success in these Le Lion d'Angers Young Horse World Championships in the past. Cooley Lancer, of course, won the 6-year-old division a few years ago. Easy upward transition into canter. Lovely uphill way of going. Rebecca, who's been based over in Britain for a number of years. But wonderful to see her back competing internationally this year. Canada's best position, actually, here at Le Lion d'Angers came courtesy of Lindsay Traisnell and Ulysses du Rubercy back in 2014. Lovely and balanced loop. Almost just anticipated that there was another change of leg through trot that was coming, which was a real shame because it was a beautiful downward transition. 1, 2, 3, 4 steps back in the rein back. You can just see actually that slight mistake coming out of that changing rein. Unfortunately, just dropping their score. So not going to go sub 30, but that was a really lovely test from Rebecca Howard and Dolman Cooley. And a lot to like from them. Dolman Cooley, lovely expression on his face, having a jolly good look round, but very relaxed as he leaves the arena. These young horses, it's such a huge part of their education. And he looks like he's thoroughly enjoyed his first phase here in Le Lion d'Angers. There we go, 64.55, 65.45 and 70.91. Gives them a provisional penalty score of 33.0, so go 8th at the moment. So next to come forward, it is for Peru. Javier Yari Lee, Ginebra BK. Javier comes forward on this horse that he co-owns alongside Elena Ceballos, who we've already seen for Venezuela compete her test a little bit earlier on. And out of a very similar dam line, not quite the same dam, but actually the same dam sire. Larcos. Javier comes forward. Ginebra BK for Peru. And actually, it's Peru's first representative here at Le Lion d'Angers for the FEI WBFSH Eventing World Championships for young horses. So wonderful to have them as part of the international roster that we welcome here for these World Championships. Ginebra BK actually went clear cross country in Madrid in the 2-star there a little bit earlier on this year. Things didn't quite go to plan for them in Liniers on their final preparation run for here with a fall on the flat. Just seek the contact forward a little bit more, be a little bit more consistent. Take the nose down and out in that serpentine. But actually the rising trot just allows horses to be encouraged to be loose and soft through their back. Conservative with the medium canter strides, but you've got to ask for what you've got in the bank. be a little bit more supple on the cantaloupe. Actually, this test, well, they've not necessarily picked up big marks for every movement. It has been a clear round as such in the first phase. Just fell into trot a little bit, lost the balance. Just encouraging the horse to keep his nose up. Unfortunately, resting that hind leg in the halt. Won't see them get big marks for that halt because they're really looking for the engagement of the hind end. And into their final halt. Not quite established enough for the bigger marks, but a nice test from Javier Herri-Lee and Janabra BK. And it's wonderful to see Peru with their first representative here at Le Lion d'Angers in at least 15 years.
Next to go for France, number 20. Indian Tonic, c'est un sel français par Andiamo Similli et Cristalina Qua par Jaguar Mine.
So, some 3 combinations left to come forward before the end of the first day of dressage for the 6-year-old division. Bring you a score for Javier Herri-Lee in just a second. But should go inside the top 20 as things stand at the moment. There we go, 43.1 into 19th position. 57.27, 55.91, 57.50 from our 3 judges. Reminder, our judges are as follows. C, President of the Ground Jury, Jutta Koivula for Finland. At C, M, Douglas Hibbert for Great Britain. And at E, Robin Fisher for the United States of America. Next to come forward, it is Heloise Le Guen and Indian Tonic GQ. This mare by Andiamo Semeli out of a Jaguar male mare. This combination actually finished in 4th place in the French National 6-year-old Championships in Pompadour. Finished on their dressage score of 28.1. Heloise Le Guen is a rider who has really impressed coming up the levels for Team France. Been to the Pony Europeans, part of the French team that won a pony team gold actually back in 2014 in Mill Street. And a team silver at the junior level as well. Plus 3 young rider Europeans to her tally. And actually, she had horses finishing in 4th and 5th in this division. She won the Brabham under-25 class a couple of years ago at the 4-star long level, Canakin de Sudrazy. So experienced up to the 4-star level. Good to see her with young horses coming up through the grades as well. Tomorrow we still have Thomas Carlyle, Iliad de Casa to come forward, and actually it is the top 3 ranked riders from Pompadour, from the French National 6-year-old Championship, who get offered the places in Le Lion d'Angers in the 6-year-old division. Eloise finishing in 4th place, beg your pardon, but actually Stéphane Landois, and who finished in 3rd, not coming forward this weekend. So she's the 3rd rider for France. We've already seen Fabrice Samori. We'll see Le Lion d'Angers specialist Thomas Carlyle tomorrow. Very relaxed. Very consistent around the 6.5 territory. 6.5 from every judge for every movement gives you a penalty score at the end of your test of 35. A little bit early perhaps into the halt, and not quite the square, immobile halt that she would have wanted. Accepting of the request to rein back. Didn't get the biggest steps. So the second of our French combinations will be mid-30s in the leaderboard. Heloise Le Gun, Indian Tonic, GQ. Not able to challenge the leader. Sophie Loib has been out in front for a little while now with Hey Lucky Stan, who is one of only 3 sub-30 scores in the field so far, 26.8 the score to beat. Max Warburton for Great Britain, sitting in 2nd, Norway Van der Haar. And in 3rd, Diacon Diva, FRH and Catherine BLN on 29.0. So that's the top 3 on the leaderboard at the moment. As Heloise Le Gun should go top 15 with that score, just waiting for those final marks to come in. Coefficient of 2 for that final mark of harmony between horse and rider. 63.64, 65.91, 65.00 gives her a penalty score of 35.2. That's good enough to put her just in front of Cathal Daniels and Independent Article, who moved down into 15th place. So, 2 to go today in the 6-year-old division. The first of them will be for Austria. Robert Mandel.
Contingency 65.91.
But if you're just tuning in, then delighted to have you with us live on FEI.tv, or if you're watching back on demand as well, then we do hope you're enjoying all of the coverage. We'll be with you every step of the way for both the 6-year-old and the 7-year-old division this weekend in Le Lion d'Angers for the FEI WBFSH Eventing World Championships for young horses. And now we welcome Blue Rave Adasso 2 and Robert Mandel for Austria. Combination had a couple of good clear rounds at the 2-star level. Ham and Reed and Ryderberg. But actually 4 internationals, 4 clears cross country, including a 6th place in Capesvar in a 1-star division a little bit earlier on this summer. German bred by Schimmel and Scheckenhoff, by Asago, out of a mare called Kerr Royal, who was by Calibri, owned now by Dirk Tannhauser. So Blue Rave Adasso 2 and Austria for Robert Mandel next to come forward. Robert, who actually represented his country at the senior level for the first time at the European Championships in Avanches back in 2021. They go into that leg yield to the right. Our judge on the centre line, president of our ground jury, gets a really good view as to the straightness. That's perhaps where that 6 is given, as opposed to the 6.5 as the other judges who don't necessarily get the same clear view of the straightness at that point. Very clear transition into the medium canter and kept the balance very nicely. Horse came back to him beautifully. And you've got to make sure it's a good size and shape of the loop while keeping your balance. Test riding is so much about not giving any marks away. Of course, so much easier said than done, but an accurate test makes it very much harder for the judges to take the marks off you. Really goes for it in the circle, 20 meters to the left this time, showing the medium canter strides. Keeps really good balance. Likewise in the canter loop. behind, so didn't really show a huge amount of immobility in the halt, which was a shame. Austria's best finish here, the only time they've had a top 10 finish actually, was with Rebecca Girold and Shannon Queen back in 2016. But this will definitely be among the top sort of 6 or 7 tests delivered by an Austrian rider in Le Lion d'Angers. And Robert Mandel, Blue Rave, Episode 2. A lot to like from their test. Just a couple of places where they didn't quite pick up as big a marks as they had otherwise. We're trending for a long time in the early 30 territory, but we'll end up sub 35. And still, of course, lots to do over the weekend. We'll have all of the action for you live on FEI.tv tomorrow. The second division, the second half of the 6-year-old division in the dressage. They go cross country from, I think it's 9 o'clock Saturday morning. And then on Sunday, we will have the final phase here in the main arena in Le Lion d'Angers. So, just waiting for that score to come in for Robert Mandel. Here we go. 65.23, 64.32 and 65.68. Real agreement across our judging from the ground jury. 34.9 sees them go into 13th place on the leaderboard at the moment. So the last to go of the 6-year-old division today will be for Italy, Rebecca Chiaparo and Barxia. This mare by Ladro de Quarry da Saint-Jouan. Out of a Quick Star, the Clover de Alberto Bolafo. Out of a Quick Star mare, beg your pardon. Owned by the Clover de Alberto Bolafo. Rebecca Chiaparo, no stranger to a visit here to Le Lion d'Angers. She finished on the podium back in 2021 with Bon Mahon Chelsea in the 6-year-old division. Been top 10 with Cassiopeia Preziosa as well last year. What can she do in 2024? Barxia actually third in Palmanova. In preparation for this run. Top 10 in Zurich, in the 2-star and in Arezzo a little bit earlier on this summer as well. And actually another stepping up to the long level for the first time. into the 20-meter circle to the left, picking up those medium canter strides. The combination being pretty consistent in the early 30 territory, early to mid-30s. About where they would be on track to score today so far. She's tried really hard there to keep the right canter lead. Just about did so, but will be marked down. Horse just resisted slightly. Three, 4 steps in the row and back, and it's actually specified within the test as 3 to 4 steps in the row and back. And it was a lovely, almost square halt. Horse just came above the contact into that final halt. But Rebecca Chiapero and Barxia bringing day 1 of dressage in the FEI WBFSH Eventing World Championships for young horses here in Le Lion d'Angers in the 6-year-old division to a conclusion. The top of the leaderboard will remain unchanged heading into tomorrow from those that have already gone. Sophie Loeb, the one to beat, 26.8, with Hey Lucky Stan ahead of Great Britain's Max Warburton, Norway Van der Hart, 28.8, and Anne-Catherine Bielin on Diacon Diva, 29.0, the only other sub-30 score at the moment. Still plenty of big names to bring you tomorrow in the 6-year-old division, including the British Young Horse champions, Izzy Taylor and Barrington Boy. Izzy, of course, the defending champion, having won here 12 months ago with Barrington Alice. 6, Rebecca Chiapero, as that puts them into 16th place. Thomas Carlyle, a 2-time winner of the 6-year-old division here, also back in the arena tomorrow. And Kitty King, who won this class a few years ago with both Crystal Fontaine and I think Zidante won it as well, will be in the lineup too. So lots to look forward to tomorrow. For now, Sophie Loeb, Hey Lucky Stan, the one to beat, 26.8. Max Warburton and Katrine Bielin in 2nd and 3rd. Calvin Bachmann, Casparo 12 in 4th. Meryl Blom-Holzmann for the Netherlands in 5th. And you've got Belgium's Lara Delida Kirkemeyer, Switzerland, Jaminda Hallie Kuhn, the United States of America, Rebecca Howard for Canada, and Belgium's Loreen Scheiss as well inside the top 10. So this is the provisional leaderboard after the first half of the field have completed the first phase. And of course, we will be back tomorrow. It is 9 o'clock local time for the first of the second half of the 6-year-old division to trot down the centre line. Our ground jury, of course, for the 6-year-old class at C, President of the ground jury for Finland, Jutta Koivula; at M for Great Britain, Douglas Hibbert; and at E, Robin Fisher for the United States of America. So now we've got a short break, but we will be back in just over an hour's time for the first half of the 3-star division in the FEI WBFSH Eventing World Championships for young horses. Plenty of big names on the way, so do join us at 1 o'clock local time.